You are the one assigning meaning to your relationships, and it might mean that you're actually spiritually bypassing in your relationships versus looking at your relationships as an opportunity for spiritual growth. And in secure attachment, you're going to take the path of spiritual growth versus spiritual bypassing. But this all comes down to the meaning we assign and the amount of space that we're allowing energetically and emotionally to be part of the relationship container. When we are attached, we are fearful. We're fearful of abandonment. We're fearful of rejection. We're fearful of intimacy. We're crunching. We're clinging on to the meaning that we made. Oh, I'm supposed to marry this person. Oh, this is my forever person. Oh, we can't get divorced because we have kids. Oh, whatever meaning you have about how relationships work. Oh, you have to show up for me this way. If you love me, you would. We have all these belief systems attached that we attach to what relationships are, what relationships for us mean. And when we attach that way, we actually end up spiritually bypassing the lesson that maybe we are actually meant to learn within this connection. Oh, this connection's actually helping me heal, helping me stand in more integrity, helping me look at my wounds, helping me open my truth, helping me address my trauma, helping me notice where I people please, notice where I lose myself, where I self-abandon. But when we point fingers at, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, this relationship doesn't feel good, we have to do it this way, you're not doing it this way, we're missing the point of, hey, you're actually showing me something I need to see in myself. So spiritual growth is the pathway of secure attachment, because in spiritual growth, you are detaching. Therefore, secure attachment is detachment in some fashion, not fully detaching. It's this balance though. We are attached, we are loving, we are accepting, we are embracing, but we're detached from outcome. We're detached from outcome. That does not mean we don't have expectations of our partners or of people in general, but it does mean that we are able to detach from outcome and to feel into feeling. How do I want to feel in this relationship? How do I want to hold myself? How do I ask that they hold themselves? What does being in our values mean? Like, what does it really mean for me to be in a relationship that's integrous with my own values? So nonetheless, again, our relationships are our mirrors, but if you're choosing to operate or move towards secure attachment out of anxious, out of avoidant, out of fearful avoidant, or disorganized, we take the pathway of really seeing our relationships as an opportunity for growth versus as an opportunity to cling on to an emotion that we want to feel through that person. Because therefore, oftentimes we are operating in relationship because we want them to fill our internal void. And that means we're spiritually bypassing. You're not here to fill my internal void. You're here to show me my internal void. Therefore, spiritual bypassing, you're letting me bypass my void, my insecurity, my pain, my trauma, my needing to take responsibility, my closure, my repressed emotion. And when we choose secure attachment, when we choose spiritual growth, it's thank you so much for showing me. Thank you so much for showing me. Thank you for leading me into my void so I can see it, so I can feel it, so that I can express it, so it can become not repressed anymore and instead expressed. So this is the pathway to change, to healing, to growth. And I'm going to pose a journal prompt for the week, which is this. If I trusted my relationships were part of my becoming, what would I choose to carry forward? What would I choose to release? How would I continue to commit to showing up, standing up? And how would I alter the way I relate? All right, those are a lot of questions, but this parted series of what would I choose to release, what would I choose to carry forward, what would I continue to commit to showing up to, and what would I commit to altering, or how would I alter the way I relate? these are really important things to ask ourselves because it allows us to step into more becoming. And this is a week, it's an eclipse week if you're listening to this when it comes out, and it's a full moon eclipse. And it is asking us then, therefore, to release ways that we have not been looking at ourselves. Release ways that we've conditioned ourselves or patterned ourselves or taken on the generational patterns that have just become so habitual to us. And it allows us to step, therefore, into relationship with ourselves, into relationship with our intimate partners, into relationship with our family in a different way. How do I want to relate to people? Do I want to relate by blaming or playing victim or always being small? Or do I want to relate by showing up in integrity? Do I want to relate by sharing my truth? Do I want to relate by being a role model? Do I want to relate by always choosing love? Do I want to relate by telling you that I actually feel a certain way, or do I want to play what I normally do and just silence myself, right? So like, we have this opportunity to show up differently. Ask yourself, how are you proud of the way you show up? And is there ways that you could alter that even a little bit more to show up in more love, in more security, in more confidence, in more truth, in more honesty, in more congruence, in more coherence, in more integrity? And so when you ask yourself, am I spiritually bypassing? I say that in relationship because relationship is the most spiritual thing that we can be in. Our relationships are really formed, like our foundation of understanding relationships are formed between the ages of 0 and 7. And in the ages of 0 to 7, I believe we are so spiritually connected. We are closer to God than we have ever been between those ages of development because we are closer to our time with Him. And over time, the world can decondition us from that connection to God. And so, in a way, we have the opportunity to look at ourselves from the ages of 0 to 7 as so spiritually connected and so permeable to how relationships work. And so our understanding of relationships in those ages, we're so interconnected with God that our relationships are the interconnection that we have with God. And so we are seeing God through our relationships each and every day. And if we can look at it that way, our relationships are the most spiritual thing we can engage in. Our relationships are the most spiritual thing we can engage in. Our relationships are the most spiritual thing we can engage in. And so instead of bypassing the mirror of the void, how can you step into and say, thank you for this mirror. I'm going to go into my own void space. I'm going into the emotion. I'm going into my fear. And so our relationships become our pathway to greater self-awareness. Our relationships teach us lessons and they offer us a lens into ourselves so that we can connect to a larger sense of who we really are, because without our relationships, we would not be on a pathway of really understanding ourselves. Without our relationships, we wouldn't be on a pathway to looking inward. Without our relationships, we would have, again, like my video last week, in isolation, we just don't see. And so you are being given the opportunity to see, to look at yourself, to grow, and therefore you have to detach from outcome and root into this relationship with yourself. Because this relationship comes first, and I do not mean you should get rid of everyone in your life, but it's giving yourself space in the container of a relationship to detach from outcome gives you space to grow, because you want to continue to let, this is potentially biased, but I believe the most beautiful way to go through relationship is to have such a container of safety that we continue to allow it to expand and expand and expand and expand and expand and expand and expand so we can grow within that container. But oftentimes we are so attached to what it looks like that we don't even create enough room for the relationship to expand with the other person. And so you can choose the pathway of secure attachment, and that means you can grow into the expanded container that you co-create.